It's been an unpredictable and unprecedented NASCAR season, but we've made it to the playoffs. So you know what that means. It's time to fill out those brackets. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to a special episode of Out of the Groove. As you can see, we're still in my normal studio setup, but we've brought some props along today. The first race of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is this Sunday night at Darlington. It's also the throwback race, a race that wears many hats. It is the first of what will be 10 races to make up this year's playoffs. There are a lot of intriguing storylines going in. Obviously, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick have been the frontrunners most of this season. Meanwhile, the defending series champion Kyle Busch is still winless and finds himself a bit behind the 8 ball to start these playoffs. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to think about. So as you can see right here, we are going to go round by round, and I will tell you guys who I think is getting eliminated when, who my final championship 4 are, and of course, who the NASCAR Cup champion will be. It's going to be a very packed episode. As you can see on the board right now, we have all 16 Cup Series playoff drivers. So let's talk about round 1. The first round will begin at Darlington this weekend. Then they'll go to Richmond next Saturday night, and the round will wrap up with the Bristol night race. 3 night races to start the playoffs, 2 short tracks thrown in there. This is also going to be the first trip to Richmond of this season when they head there next week. And wrapping up this round at Bristol Motor Speedway under the lights is going to be fantastic, I'm sure. But what 12 drivers will actually move on? Well, let's go down the line, talk about some of the contenders. I'm not going to keep you guys in too much suspense. Drivers like Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, they're good to go. Logano, Elliott, Truex, Blaney, I think they make it through the first round without too many issues. Now, I'll stop right here for a moment. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Alex Bowman in this first round. Yes, he did finish 5th at Dover, and he got a top 10 at Daytona, but before those 2 races, he didn't have any top 10s in the last 5 Cup Series races. And let's just be honest, guys, this isn't the same Alex Bowman that we started the year with. At the beginning of the year, I thought Alex Bowman might be a championship contender. Running up front, almost won at Las Vegas, did win at Auto Club Speedway, the 3rd race of the year. But since then, Chevys have kind of gone back to their 2018-2019 struggles. Alex Bowman does have 9 playoff points, which is more than a few of these guys, but it's not a huge cushion by any means. We talk about how great Alex Bowman started the year, but when we actually look at his average finish for the season, it's 17.0, which is the 2nd worst average finish of anyone in the playoffs this year. I know you 88 fans are going to hate me for this, but I have Alex Bowman getting eliminated in the very first round. Oh my gosh, I actually ripped it. I didn't think it would actually rip. I'm so sorry. That's just adding insult to injury, Bowman fans. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And now moving on, I do think his teammate William Byron, who's coming off a win at Daytona, I have a little bit of faith in him. He's working with 7-time champion Chad Knaus. And with no practice, no qualifying, I think crew chiefs are more important than ever. I will give William Byron the benefit of the doubt, given that he has 7-time crew chief Chad Knaus with him. And the fact that he just won at Daytona means he's got a few more playoff points. So I think William Byron moves on to the 2nd round. I'll go with him. I'll run with the young fella. Now, this next one's tough because even before his win at Texas, Austin Dillon was flirting with the possibility of pointing his way into the playoffs. But if you look at this first round, Darlington doesn't strike me as a great track for Austin Dillon. Richmond either. Bristol, he did get a top 10 at Bristol earlier this year back in May, but with that all being said, I don't think Austin Dillon makes it past this round. I'm sorry, I'll try to be a little more gentle with Austin. Oh my, it's too easy to rip these things. I should have used better paper. Oh my God, I'm just absolutely eviscerating these drivers. I'm so sorry. Well, yeah, Austin Dillon, I have him being eliminated this round. Just add him to the trash heap. I'm sorry, Dylan. And unfortunately, it doesn't get much better from there. I mean, Cole Custer, great story to have a rookie in the playoffs. This locks up the Rookie of the Year win for Cole Custer, actually. But he only has 1 top 10 in the last 6 races going into the playoffs. He by far has the worst average finish of all 16 drivers of 19.9. He finished 22nd and 31st at the 2 Darlington races this year. He crashed out at Bristol. Yeah, I'm sorry, Cole Custer's not moving on. Oh, that one came off pretty clean. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. All right, we do have to pick one more driver now to be eliminated in the first round. You look at who's left. Almirola, Boyer, a couple SHR guys. The Busch brothers, Kyle and Kurt Busch, do not have very many playoff points to their name. And then Matt DiBenedetto, the feel-good story, first year in the playoffs for that driver. Now, my last elimination is probably going to be controversial as well. The last guy I'm eliminating in the opening round, he doesn't have a whole lot of momentum starting these playoffs. He's kind of limped his way through the last couple weeks, didn't run particularly well at Dover, struggled at the Daytona Road Course, a track I think many of us expected him to run well at. As great as it is that Matt DiBenedetto just made the playoffs for the first time in his career, I don't think he makes it out of the first round. Now, this might be controversial because Bristol, like I said, is the final race in this round. And you remember last year, Matt DiBenedetto almost won Bristol. You know, a few years ago when he was still with Go Fast Racing. Actually, no, I think he was with BK Racing at the time. He had a top 10 at Bristol. The BK Racing equipment, like that Matt DiBenedetto. Bristol's definitely his best track on the circuit, but he crashed out at Bristol in May, and he has 0 playoff points. I mean, everybody else on that list has at least some playoff points. He has 0. So he's starting out in a pretty big hole, and I think he's going to be kind of putting it all on the line at Bristol, a track that, you know, it's not Daytona or Talladega levels of chaotic and wild and stuff, but that's a tough race to put all your that's a tough basket to put all your eggs in. So I'm sorry, Matty D fans. I don't have Matt DiBenedetto moving on past this round. I'll try to be gentle. Spare him the agony of defeat. Okay. Oh, come on. Oh no. Shoot. I didn't tear it too bad. I think we're okay. This tape is heavy duty. There you have it. The rest of these guys, they're moving on. So those are your round of 16 eliminations. We got to pick up the pace here. All right, so here we are with our round of 12. No surprise, Harvick and Hamlin still at the top of the list. Keselowski, Logano, Elliott, they got so many more playoff points than the rest of the field, especially these guys at the bottom. No secret there. Round 2 of the playoffs will kick off at a 1.5 mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and then it gets kind of crazy. After Vegas, they head to Talladega, a super speedway, of course, and then the round will finish up with the Charlotte Roval, which is the 3rd time the Cup Series will be heading there, so maybe things won't be quite as chaotic as they've been the first 2 times, but I don't know. If last year is any indication, this race is still going to be extremely unpredictable. So a very diverse set of tracks for the second round of the playoffs. So this is certainly the wild card round of the playoffs, as it usually is. Talladega by itself makes this round kind of a wild card. But remember that playoff points do carry over each round, so that's why guys like Harvick, Hamlin are still going to have a huge advantage over the rest of the field, given how successful they were in the regular season. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys who I have getting eliminated. Now, this is going to be controversial. Just brace yourselves. I'll start with probably the least controversial of all. I think Clint Bowyer gets eliminated here in the second round. I think he has to focus all of his attention on the Charlotte Roval race. He finished 3rd there in 2018, 4th last year in 2019, and just a couple weeks ago at the Daytona Road Course, he finished 6th. So Clint Bowyer, historically known as a very good road course racer, I think in a lot of ways that might be his best bet to move on, but if he does not win the Roval or at least run top 3 and have good Talladega and good Las Vegas, I think that's it for Clint Bowyer. He doesn't have a whole lot of playoff points. He's pretty far down on this list. I don't think Clint Bowyer makes it past this round, so sorry, Bowyer fans. Oh, that one came off pretty good. All right, Boyer's tough. Now, this next one's not too controversial either. I think Kurt Busch gets eliminated in this round. Kurt Busch has the least number of playoff points of all the remaining drivers at this point. Kurt Busch has never won at Talladega. His results at the Roval have been mixed. He was 5th there in 2018, but he finished 20th there last year. And at Las Vegas, his home track, he only has 5 top 10s in 21 career starts at Las Vegas. And he finished 25th there earlier this season. I think this is a pretty safe bet. Kurt Busch is out. Oh, that was rough. Oh, man. Absolutely devastating. I'm sorry, Kurt Busch, because I'm building up quite the pile of corpses over here. Ugh. This is where things might get heated. I know he's the defending series champion, but I believe the second round of the playoffs is where Kyle Busch's difficult 2020 season officially comes to a close. Kyle Busch has not finished in the top 10 in the Talladega fall race since 2013. His 2 finishes at the Charlotte Roval have both been outside the top 30, and he had brake issues at the Daytona Road Course a few weeks ago. And quite frankly, because he is winless, because he only has 1 stage win this year, he just has far fewer stage points than all of his competition. I don't think Kyle Busch makes it out of this round, and I don't think that's crazy at all to suggest. So Rowdy, he's outie. Oh, that was a bad line. But hey, the tear was fairly clean. I'm sorry, Kyle Busch fans. It's just in that kind of year. It's still 2020 after all. Revisit it in 2021, I guess. I know I'm just tearing up the guys at the bottom here, but this last one I think is going to be a little bit more controversial. And I'll be quite honest, the stats I have here don't really support this next pick. But you know, every year when I do these playoff predictions, I look at the numbers and I look at the data heavily. I study it. I sleep on it. Every year I look at the numbers and I base my predictions purely off numbers. And every year I get at least 1 or 2 wrong. 1 or 2 that I just didn't see coming. That shocked me. This guy's out in that early. This guy made it that far in place. There's always 1 or 2 each year that shock me. And that's what I'm banking on for this next pick. That's right. Ryan Blaney will be eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. Get him out of there. Oh, jeez. Oh, absolutely destructive. Yeah, Ryan Blaney's out after this round. And I'll be honest, the stats do not support this whatsoever. You look at the 3 tracks in this round. You got the Charlotte Roval, which of course Ryan Blaney won the first ever Roval race 2 years ago. You got Talladega, where Ryan Blaney has won the last 2 Talladega races, this year and last year's fall race. And you've got Las Vegas, which he probably would have won at the beginning of this year if not for a late race caution. So the stats, in all honesty, do not back this up whatsoever. But the story of Ryan Blaney in 2020 has been a lot of races where he has a really good race car, leads a lot of laps, runs up front, but ends up with ultimately a disappointing finish. And that's kind of how I feel this round is going to go. I'm going with my gut on this one. This is just a vibe, no numbers whatsoever. This is just what I'm feeling in my gut right now. I know you Ryan Blaney fans are going to hate me for this one, but hey, think of it this way. All he can do is prove me wrong. All he can do is prove me wrong, and there's a very good chance he will. The numbers suggest he will prove me very wrong in the playoffs this year, but that's my wild card pick. I got to do one early on. There's always that one guy that gets eliminated earlier than anyone expected. This year, sorry Blaney fans, I think it's Ryan Blaney. All right, so we've made it to the final 8. That's right, I have William Byron moving on to the round of 8. I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but hey, the last round works out good for him. You know, he just won on a super speedway. That's Talladega. And hey, he had a top 10 at the Daytona road course and has been a pretty solid road course racer early on in his Cup Series career. I'm betting on William Byron. I'm sorry, guys. I'm betting on William Byron. He's going to the round of 8. He's your other surprise. Willie B, baby. But I feel pretty good about this list. Eric Almirola has been super consistent this year. Of course, Harvick, Hamlin, because they got so many playoff points. I'll be shocked if they get eliminated before now. So there's your round of 8. So let's talk about the round of 8 now. The round of 8 will begin at Kansas Speedway, 1.5 miles. Then they will go to Texas, another 1.5 miles with very different characteristics. And it will wrap up at the Paperclip Martinsville Speedway. Again, a pretty interesting set of tracks for this round. This is a tough one to predict. Let's go down the line right here. We'll start with Kevin Harvick. He's got a lot of playoff points. He's really freaking good. He's moving on. I'm sorry. He's going to the championship 4. Need I say any more? I mean, Denny Hamlin, I could basically say the same thing. Both Harvick and Hamlin have been really good at the intermediates this year. Any track with the 550 horsepower rules package, those two have dominated. And Martinsville, the one short track in the round, Denny Hamlin historically has been pretty solid at. So I'll put the Virginia native in the championship 4 as well. I think he's going to run very well at Martinsville, Virginia. There we go. Yeah, is that really going to surprise anybody right there? Harvick and Hamlin. Who else? Who doesn't have Harvick and Hamlin in the top of their bracket? I mean, come on now. I'll bounce around a little bit right here. William Byron. I don't see William Byron making it past this round. Like I said a minute ago, I think if he makes it to the round of 8, he's lucky. I think I'm being extremely generous with William Byron, letting him go this far. But no, I don't see him making it much further. He's got less playoff points than most of these guys. He's young. He's inexperienced. Byron's gone. His average finish on the season is 16.1. That's worse by far of everyone's still left up here. So sorry, William. And let's talk about Eric Almirola. You know, every year there's that one guy that kind of gets in on consistency. Eric Almirola had that crazy streak this year. What was it? 9 straight top 10s at one point over the summer. Eric Almirola has been really good this year. He had a top 10 at Kansas and at Texas earlier in the season. So he very well might sneak into the championship round, but he has 0 wins this season. Meanwhile, the rest of those 8 all have at least 1 win. He has fewer playoff points. I don't think Eric Almirola makes it past this round either, guys. I'm sorry. Ugh. Oh, you guys are coming off pretty easy now. Martin Truex Jr. This is an interesting one. He won at Martinsville earlier this year. He was 3rd at Kansas earlier this year. Remember, both those races are in this round. And I haven't talked about this yet, but going into the playoffs right now, he is on a streak of 8 straight top 4 finishes. That's insane. That is absolutely ridiculous. He doesn't have any wins during that time, but I talked about how Eric Almirola has been consistent this year. I think Martin Truex Jr. has been also consistent and just consistently better. So if anyone's going to consistently point their way into the championship 4 this year, my bet is on Martin Truex Jr. with his new crew chief, James Small, who of course was the lead engineer under Cole Pearn. So he's no slouch. I think Martin Truex Jr. is moving on to the championship 4, boys. That's maybe my dark horse pick there in that round of 8, because he only has 1 win on the season, but he's going to join his little buddy Denny Hamlin. Couple Toyotas there, gonna make it to Phoenix. Oh, you look at the 3 drivers remaining. We'll start with Chase Elliott. I really, you have to believe me, I really want to put Chase Elliott in the championship 4 at Phoenix, but I just can't do it. He's got the 5th most playoff points of all the remaining drivers, so he's in the ballpark there. He was 12th at Texas, 12th at Kansas earlier this season, which is okay, but likely wouldn't get the job done. He is traditionally pretty good at Martinsville, finished 5th there earlier this summer, so I'm going to give Chase Elliott a fighting chance, but I'm sorry, guys. I just do not trust the Chevrolets. I promise you, I have total faith in Chase Elliott, but I don't have faith in Team Chevy. Even if, Chase Elliott's one of the final remaining Chevrolets and they're giving him all of their attention, all their best stuff, I just don't believe in it. He's been so close the last few years, but he hasn't made it yet. I just don't see this year being the year he breaks through and makes it to the championship race. So I'm sorry, guys. Chase Elliott, he's out. I'm not happy about it either. I'm sorry. And then there were two Penske Fords to battle for the last championship 4 spot. You know, Joey Logano, a lot of people don't realize this, he has led laps in 19 out of 26 races this year. And he was 4th at Martinsville earlier in the season, 3rd at Texas. I believe he crashed out at Kansas though. He has experience in this round, but I don't know if that's enough. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski has more playoff points. He has a few more playoff points right now than Joey Logano. That's an advantage. He was 2nd at Texas this year, 9th at Kansas earlier in the year, and he was 3rd at Martinsville. Brad Keselowski's got the 3rd most playoff points of anyone in the Cup Series this year. He's also got the 3rd best average finish of anyone in the Cup Series this year. He has a sub 10 average finish, 9.7. I mean, that's pretty good. Yes, he's working with a new crew chief, to him at least in the Cup Series this year, Jeremy Bullins, but they had plenty of success in Xfinity many years ago. Gosh, it's tough to pick between those two, but I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. I think Brad Keselowski grabs the 4th and final spot, which means Joey Logano, oh no. And Brad Keselowski will move on to the Championship 4. It's going to be a Ford versus Toyota championship at Phoenix. So let's talk about the championship race now. All right, so we are here. Harvick, Hamlin, Truex, and Brad Keselowski. That's a pretty stout championship 4. I think once again, it's going to be the year of the veterans. There's a lot of good young drivers. Some of them have had breakout seasons, but ultimately experience still wins in the NASCAR Cup Series, especially this year with no practice, no qualifying, all that stuff. It's going to be the year of the vets. So those are my championship 4. I feel pretty good about those picks. But let's talk about Phoenix. That's where all the focus is going to be. This is the first year that Phoenix is the championship race. It's been Homestead for 20 years. Let's go one by one here. Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers, keep in mind, crew chiefs are going to play an important role in this race. They led 67 laps at Phoenix earlier this season before the hiatus back in March, and they finished a close 2nd to Joey Logano. Kevin Harvick has finished in the top 10 at Phoenix in 14 straight races. He has 9 career wins at Phoenix. His dominance out in the desert has been well documented. Now, he has not won at Phoenix since the spring race in 2018, so it's been a few races. Harvick has 7 wins in the Cup Series this season, right now leading all drivers, but only one of those wins have come with the 750 horsepower low downforce rules package, and that was at Dover recently, which is a track that does not drive anywhere near the way Phoenix drives. We'll talk about that with Hamlin as well, but Harvick's been great this season, but he's really only dominated at the 550 horsepower tracks. The 750 tracks, he's been still really good at, but he has not dominated them the same way he's dominated at the bigger tracks. Phoenix is a flat 1-mile racetrack. Definitely something to watch for. Kevin Harvick has 1 career championship, and it came in 2014, his first year with Stewart-Haas Racing and Rodney Childers. It's honestly surprising at this point that he only has 1 championship, given how dominant he's been since he got to the 4 team. In nearly 7 years, he has 33 wins in the NASCAR Cup Series, but only 1 championship to show for it. I don't know, that's kind of surprising to me. His average finish in 2020, though, is 6.6. Best of all drivers. That's pretty wild. Anyway, let's move on now to Denny Hamlin. Now, Denny Hamlin did not get a great finish at Phoenix earlier this year. He finished 20th, but he does have 2 career wins at Phoenix, and he won actually last year. He won the fall race in 2019. Now, that was with a different rules package. That was high downforce, not low downforce, so a little bit different than what he's going to be racing this year. But much like Harvick, Hamlin has a lot of wins this year, but only 1 has come using the 750 horsepower package, and that also was Dover. It was the second race of that Dover doubleheader. I know people are doubting Hamlin because historically speaking, he has come up small in big moments before. 2010, of course, is a good example of kind of a championship collapse. Last year, it wasn't even Hamlin, it was the team. But you remember putting too much tape on the grill and forcing him to overheat and causing him to pit under green and lost all his track position, and that cost him last year. So whether it's Hamlin or it's his team, they certainly don't seem to shine in the most tense situations. So is this the year Denny Hamlin finally breaks through and gets that elusive Cup Series championship? He's obviously a NASCAR Hall of Famer with all the Daytona wins. He's got over 40 Cup wins. He's easily a NASCAR Hall of Famer, but there's going to be a pretty big asterisk next to his name if he never gets a Cup Series championship. And while Hamlin certainly is not old by any means, he's in the back half of his career and likely will only race competitively, I'd say, for a few more seasons. So time is running out for Hamlin to get that championship. I think this is as good a year as ever to snag it. His average finish this year is only a little worse than Harvick's at 8.9, second best in the series. So Hamlin certainly going to be a popular choice. Let's move on now to Martin Truex Jr., his Joe Gibbs teammate. First year again with crew chief James Small. He's only got 1 win, but it came at Martinsville earlier this season, which runs the 750 horsepower rules package. At Phoenix back in March, he wrecked out and ended up finishing 32nd, but he did lead 11 laps in that race. Martin Truex Jr. is a veteran driver. I don't see him dominating the race at Phoenix. I don't really see him running with Hamlin and Harvick consistently, but I expect him to be right there if one or both of them make a crucial mistake. We've seen, like in 2016 at Homestead in the championship race, how one big mistake by one of the championship contenders, or maybe 2 in that case, can open the door for a 3rd or 4th guy to jump in and snag the title. That's how Jimmy Johnson got his 7th championship. And Phoenix has seen its fair share of late race theatrics, you might say. So I expect Martin Truex Jr. to set himself up to be in position to take advantage of something should some wild shenanigans happen. And now let's talk about Brad Keselowski. Keselowski has said that this year has quietly been one of the best of his career. Earlier this year at Phoenix, he also led laps. He led 82 laps actually, but he ended up finishing 11th. Now Brad Keselowski has 3 wins this year, and it's worth noting 2 of them have come with the 750 horsepower rules package. So for those keeping score at home, if you add up Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski's wins this year with the 750 package, it's more than Harvick and Hamlin's wins with the package combined. So that's something to watch out for. Remember, it all comes down to one race, and I'm not so sure Hamlin and Harvick are going to dominate this one the way they've dominated so many. But anyway, Brad Keselowski's got 3 wins this year, but the one caveat here is that Keselowski has never won at Phoenix, and his numbers even in recent years at Phoenix aren't super impressive. Now, he has led laps in 4 of the last 5 Phoenix races, so there is that. But overall, I think Brad Keselowski's sort of, like you said earlier, he's been quietly a really good season. He's kind of the silent assassin this year. We're used to Brad Keselowski beating and banging, being one of the bolder, more boisterous guys on the racetrack late in these races, late in the season. I have a feeling it's going to be a different Brad Keselowski this year. I think he's going to be the quiet guy sneaking his way through the playoffs, being there at the end. Much like Martin Truex Jr., this is the first year for Brad Keselowski to be working with Jeremy Bullins in the NASCAR Cup Series, but the two of them won races in Xfinity together several years ago, so it's no surprise they've kind of not missed a beat this year and have continued to run very well. And I mentioned earlier, Brad Keselowski's average finish for the season is 9.7. That is the 3rd best in the Cup Series, behind only Harvick and Hamlin. So certainly, I think a very competitive championship 4. I don't believe there can be a clear favorite when it comes down to really just one race, and in many ways it could just come down to one restart. I wish I could say I was going to go with someone surprising, but how dominant they've been this year. I think Harvick and Hamlin have to be the 2 front runners to win the championship this year. My pick to be your 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion is going to be Kevin Harvick. I know, Kevin freaking Harvick. Why did I rip him off like that? I'm not eliminating him. Kevin Harvick. I think this is the year. He's going to get championship number 2. Second one with Stewart-Haas Racing. I think it's going to be well-deserved. I think, like I said, it's surprising he doesn't have more than one championship by now already. You know, he's been so good the last few years. But Kevin Harvick will be your NASCAR Cup Series champion. I know, I could have just tweeted that, honestly. It wouldn't have been very surprising. Well, you know what that means? That means Hamlin's gone, Truex is gone, Brad Keselowski's gone. Oh, now it's just Keselowski, just minus the K. They're all gone. They're out of here. Just crumble them right into the microphone. Oh my goodness. All right, well, there you have it. There's my bracket. It's been busted. Let me fill in those last gaps. There you have it. I know. There it is. It's kind of anticlimactic, honestly. Well, I really do appreciate you all watching and joining me on this journey that we have taken together. I feel like we've grown a lot closer, you and I. Let me know down in the comments below, if you haven't already, who your championship pick is. Let me know who your championship 4 is. I'm sure we'll get some varied responses. I expect to see a lot of Harvick and Hamlin's, but I'm sure before that, we'll see a lot of very different playoff brackets. Remember, we can see someone come out of nowhere and go on a tear these last 10 races and steal the championship. I mean, that's what Tony Stewart did in 2011. That's kind of what Joey Logano did in 2018. He wasn't a part of the big 3 during the regular season, but he quietly put together statistically the most impressive 10-race playoffs and ended up winning the championship at Homestead that year. So all bets are off. It might look like it's all Harvick and Hamlin's year, but the way this playoff format is, it's still fairly unpredictable. We aren't going to know who the champion is until literally the final couple of laps, maybe the final couple of corners at Phoenix in November. So the playoffs are here, and I'm excited. I hope you are too. That's all I've got for today's episode. Subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter. Continue the conversation on social media. A big thank you, of course, to my amazing Patreon supporters blocking my whiteboard here. Thank you guys for your continued support. I couldn't do the show without you. Really, really means a lot. An exciting weekend of racing is right around the corner. I hope you all enjoy. I will see you all after Darlington Sunday night. Have a great Labor Day weekend, y'all.